Well, thank you everyone for joining. My name is Amanda DeSimone. I am a CSM at Litify. I'm on the mid-market team. I have been walking multiple people through the LRN for maybe about a year now. I think I gave like one presentation to one of my firms, or one of my accounts, I should say, and then other people got wind that I've done this. So now I'm kind of just like a regular guest when presenting the LRN or going through any training regarding referrals. There are about 12 people on this webinar, and I want to make sure that if anyone asks questions or posts anything in the chat, that I get to everything that I possibly can. I'll probably just be sharing my screen for the most part of this presentation. I'll be sure to check in the Q&A or the chat for any messages. Not that I don't want to like just continuously talk during the entire time, but I also just want to make sure that everyone gets out of here at a reasonable time. So I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me okay. If you can respond in the chat, that would be great. Oh, hi, Bonnie. Great. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. Great. Yes, love it. Thanks, everyone. Usually I have Shaylee on the other side of this, so I don't have her this today. But that's okay. Let me just okie dokie. Thank you, everyone who participated in my chat. Thank you. Okay, great. All right, so let me get my screens all set up and we'll get started. So ideally, this will just be a walkthrough from an admin perspective of the LRN. Everyone should be seeing my Litify admin homepage. Please let me know if not, because earlier this week I was going through this entire presentation and no one saw my screen and I was very embarrassed. I'll be checking the chat for any questions. Please feel free to spit as many questions as you'd like. I'm always happy to answer them, and I'm also sad when I don't get any questions. So today will be, like I said, a review from an admin perspective. The first things that I usually like to cover when it comes to the LRN is the web application. So not from your Litify org, actually in like that separate portal. It's not that I think you shouldn't use the portal, but to be honest, the only times you really need to use that web portal is if you are an admin, ironically. So logging in to the web application, and for anyone that doesn't know, the web application, referrals.litify.com, was actually Litify's first product. This is what started it all. It is a completely free product as well. So even if you're not a customer of Litify, you still can actually create an account with referrals.litify.com and set up like your firm and send and receive referrals, and that would be it. Obviously, the value add with using Litify, like the Salesforce app, in addition to the LRN web app, is that you have that syncing capability between the two, right? And so those are the settings when you want to update within Litify to make sure that these two websites are talking, basically, right? So I want to see all of the information getting funneled through my web app, and I want to make sure all of that is being funneled into Litify, so I don't have to have my users click through a bunch of different screens. The less we have to navigate to other websites, clearly the better. So the more streamlined experience we can give you, the most ideal scenario. So as an admin, the only time you'll really have to come to this portal is to manage your firm settings, and probably that's it actually. The user settings is per user. So if anyone just saw me do that very quickly, when I logged in here, this little, I think it's a person, this little person has a drop down. And if you're an admin, you'll have access to the firm settings. You'll also have settings for the user. This is where I can change my name, my email, my password, and how many notifications that I'm getting. The firm settings, this is like when you are an LRN admin, these are the fun little tools that you have access to and probably should be paying attention to mildly regularly. So the firm settings, the first tab, I'll just go through them all pretty quickly. And if anyone has any questions, you know what to do. The firm settings, from a general basis, this is where you will establish the name of your firm, the office address, and the practice areas, website and logo and all that fun stuff. But the practice areas is kind of important to keep up with, because when another firm is utilizing the firm finder, like they're trying to search for a firm to send a referral to, there is a filter option for practice areas. And obviously, the more like accurate the data is, the better the search results will be for that user, and thus can send like a referral to you, right? So you want to make sure you're popping up in all those searches, and the way you can guarantee that is making sure this information is as up to date as possible. Some people don't realize that you have to go to the web app to change like your account information. The firm members, directly to the right, this is where you're going to be managing the employees at your firm, their accounts to the LRN, not their accounts to Litify, just to the web app, which is a little confusing, and I'm sorry, but you know, we're working with what we got. So there isn't as crazy as like a profile, permission set, sharing rule type of situation in here like Litify or Salesforce. This is just where you're establishing who from your firm and who from your office can access sending and receiving referrals using the LRN, and also what type of access they have to this website. It's not as crazy, like I said. If I select manage users directly to the right of my single employee, me, you can see what all of these different permissions mean. And it's just like a very quick toggle on and off. This location, what we're looking at right now, is the only place you have to manage LRN specific based permissions. You will have a permission set in Litify, but that's separate. So I just want to like drill that in, like this is all you have to know for the web app. So it's also pretty well organized in here. It gives you a description of every single permission that's possible to assign to someone. And you'll also see a drop down here that selects role. The role in the web app is really just like a different combination of these toggle switches. And like, that's really all it is. You can actually just make a custom like on and off selection here. I am an admin in my own org. So I have everything switched on except getting BCC'd on every single email, because my inbox will get clogged very quickly, as I'm sure some of you are aware. There are two places to manage email settings, one from like a permission set or a permissions level. And then when I showed you when I was on like those user settings, there's like email notifications in here. That's kind of the only two places that you would ever go to manage like all those emails. Backtracking a bit, join requests and join invitations, a little misleading. So join invitations is like if someone invited me to join their firm, versus join requests, which is me sending out an invitation for someone to join my firm. So if you get like a new employee on your intake team and you just set them up on the LRN, you'll come into join requests, or I'm sorry, you'll come into join invitations and then invite a user. I just totally switched that when I said that. Sorry about that. So if you need to invite someone to your firm, you would fill out their information, they would get a request, and that will be it. Okay. And then practice locations. This is really just where you have offices, very self-explanatory. Making sure this is as up to date as possible is kind of crucial, not really for you or for your employees, but for other people trying to find you with the firm finder, right? You want to pop up in as many searches as possible. Let me just make sure I didn't skip anything. Firm members, current employees, join requests, ones you sent out, great, invitations, perfect, okay, great. So then that's all there's to it in terms of settings that an admin would need to pay attention to. Really, the only times you would ever come in here is when you have new employees that you need to invite, or if you need to make updates to any of the firm settings in terms of address, practice area, and location. Other than that, there's not really any other settings you have to worry about in the web app. Other than that, it's just sending and receiving referrals, right? There's nothing else you can switch here. There's different views. Like, it's not like you're getting the same crazy complex experience as you are in Litify or Salesforce. Given that I don't see any questions in the chat, I think we are good to go to move on to the next section, which is all good for me. All right, so this was the web application, free product, all that fun stuff. But now we're gonna move into Litify. So this is like where it gets like a little bit more complicated, but it's not too bad. So when you decide to like start using Litify, or maybe even start using referrals, maybe you have been using Litify and you didn't realize that you can leverage the LRN just yet. There are two areas of settings that you need to pay attention to, not only as an LRN admin, but also as a system admin. So as a system admin, making sure your employees that have access to Litify, as in your Salesforce experience, making sure they have the permission set to view referrals, that's crucial, right? It'll be pretty hard to direct them to the referrals app when they can't physically see it in Litify. The permission set is, I think, just called Litify referral user. So just make sure that 1, you're aware of that, and 2, you can assign it to people, and 3, the right people have those permissions as well. Aside from permission sets, the settings live in the Litify setup app in the app launcher. So really anything regards to settings on the Salesforce side of referrals will live here. And what I mean by that is this is where you'll determine all of your sync settings, which is important. I cannot stress that enough. So your sync settings are the things that will kind of allow or block the web app and Salesforce from talking. So those need to kind of be straightened out as soon as possible. If you've ever gotten emails from Salesforce that says like system log error, blah, 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 if you've gotten many in a row, usually it's because something is going a little bit weird or funky in these settings that I'm about to go over. So when you initially set up the LRN or you want to start using it, the first thing you'll always have to confirm is who is the running user between the web app and Salesforce Litify. The running user is the user that has the account connecting the two, and that user always needs to be a system admin in your org. Whether that's you or someone else, it doesn't matter. It needs to be a system admin. So the system admin would have to log in directly, like can't do it from subscriber, can't log in as them. It has to be on their machine, them holding the mouse. They will need to log in here to set up and initiate that sync and keep it healthy. If, let's just say, this person leaves the firm and that account is deactivated, your sync will be broken. And that's fun. We love when that happens. It's not really a huge deal. You just have to replace the user. And that you would just log off and log in with either yourself or someone else would do that. Other than that, on this page, you just have to make sure that the sync is turned on, which it usually should be. You have an appropriate user, system admin, logged in up at the top. These dates will change every single day. So don't be concerned if you're like, it's only syncing from today. It will just sync as you're looking at the screen, so don't get confused by that. Okay, the next few settings you'll need to be aware of as a system admin are the advanced sync settings, which aren't that advanced, sorry. So these are the sync settings that tell Litify and the web app how many times to run a sync between incoming referrals, outgoing referrals, the process of sending referrals, firms, and case types. So if you've ever gotten a lot of error messages, you'll keep getting error messages in your email when one of these syncs breaks. And depending on the interval of that sync, you'll get an error message at each minute or 24 hours, depending. So it's a fine line. I will say you don't need to have all of these sync settings running at every minute, right? You don't need to constantly be updating everything at once. It might kind of slow things down. If you are a referral heavy firm on the call, maybe you do, and that's fine. But think about it this way, like, do you need to be syncing case types and firms with and to and from the LRN every minute? Probably not. You probably don't get a lot of case types that you're adding. So that's why I kind of would space these two items out the most, separate from like actually sending and receiving referrals. Just a personal recommendation, just from what I've seen from working with other accounts. It's completely up to you, and you can change these. So it's not like you set one thing and that's it for life. The other item on this page that you need to be aware of and know how to use is, let's just say you're doing your job and you start noticing referrals not being synced. Right? That's not the right past participle, but you get what I'm saying. You're starting to notice that like things really aren't updating in your org, and you're kind of wondering, like, is it me? Did I just imagine all this? Didn't someone send something? Didn't I send something? Why isn't it showing here? Whatever. You can force a stop and force a go with syncing these items. So if there's a problem and you want everything to stop and you want everything to refresh, you can stop all of these or just stop a few. Like, I can't even give you a good example, but you can just manually turn it on and turn it off is what I'm trying to say. Similarly, if you come to this page after realizing your referrals don't really look quite right, something isn't updating, and it's all stopped here, like this is not green, it's red, might be a good time to force that all on. And you can do that with the buttons up top. Obviously, ideally, everything would be turned on and syncing appropriately. Okay, and any questions so far? I don't think I've gotten any. Don't think I've gotten any just yet. I already see this group being a quiet group, so maybe next time for me. Okay, so other than permission sets, which I think everyone on this call at least has heard about, and the settings in Litify setup, there aren't other settings that you need to be aware of from like a Salesforce perspective. From the web app perspective, we went through the firm settings and the user settings, but those are the only two areas, or only three areas, that you have to be mindful of settings at least. As an admin, or maybe even as a power user, you're going to be living in Litify Referrals Pro. That's just the app that contains all of the relevant referrals objects. Which was a lot of words to say. This is where you go for referrals. So as an admin, or someone that can even create and edit list views, my biggest recommendation is tailoring these list views to someone's workflow, right? So if you have intake agents that are managing referrals, you want to make sure that like all of the referrals that they need to take action on are easily accessible to them. The way to do that in any situation is by leveraging list views or reports. So I say this every single time, so I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record if anyone has ever been on a webinar with me. But you really need to understand the important fields of a referral in order to like make the best list views and the best reports, and really just navigate in the system at all. So if I open up a referral, there are a few things here that are incredibly important, not for the referral really, but really like as someone that's trying to make the system better or keep everyone organized. So the first thing is you obviously want to understand what type of referral Litify supports. So it's either going to be an outgoing referral or an incoming referral. Very self-explanatory. And then you also want to understand the difference between the originating firm and the handling firm. Where did this referral come from versus where am I trying to send it to? Next, you're going to see a lot of fields that have the word status in them. You'll probably find 3 very quickly. You'll have Litify status, and then down at the bottom, you'll have regular status, and then sync status. Yeah, we're really trying to make things easy for people. And status description, I don't even know, goodness. So the most important one to someone managing referrals or an admin trying to create reports, etc. The most important one, in my opinion, is the Litify status. This will tell you exactly what happens to this referral in terms of your workflow. The regular status fields down at the bottom is really just the status of this record in terms of like, was it successful syncing or not? So a little bit of a delineation there. One is really about like what actually happened to this referral in terms of work versus what actually happened to this record in terms of data. Obviously one's slightly more useful for everyone on this call. You'll also see a status description, just in case you kind of missed what I just said and you're wondering what this means. You will see a status description that will give you in human words like what exactly is happening with this referral. So it'll give you a reasoning as to why it was rejected and that it's closed. Whereas if I opened a referral that said like another status, you'll get a completely different description there. So this is like what we're looking at right now is just a page layout and a lightning page also. So you can edit the same types of fields with your page editors or page layout editors, I should say. Nothing else crazy here. My page is obviously just very out of the box. Like I didn't really update this or like anything about the screen that we're looking in right now. If you do intend to make updates to your page layout, make sure you just leave the Litify status and the record type visible on the page, because that will tell a very different story depending on the combination. So just a little tip there. Next, you have Litify actions. Again, I'm switching the referral, sorry. This was a silly example to use as one to walk through. That was also terrible. Hold on. Sorry. All need action. Let me go to. No, I want an outgoing referral. I'm sorry. It's like not my first time doing this either. Outgoing referrals. Okay. Perfect. All right, sorry, I had to switch there. Horrible example, bad teaching moment. Shame on me. The other item that you need to pay attention to as an admin, power user, all that good stuff. The Litify actions and the referral transaction will also give you helpful information each time something happens to the referral. So the referral transaction is like a receipt for that transaction. It creates a record that you actually can review, just in case you're kind of wondering what happened here. You will never, ever have to look at these referral transaction records unless something funky happened with the sync and something didn't go through or it's canceled and you're not sure why. You very rarely have to leverage these in reports either. The Litify actions are crucial. So if you are at your firm or you're at your office and you need to teach someone how to use the Litify referral network, you really need them to understand that if they don't use these Litify actions, this entire process falls apart. And it's very hard to like pick up the pieces and find the timeline of where they left off. Because I'm sure everyone here realizes that like in Litify and in Salesforce, as long as you're following the right order of operations, you're pushing the right buttons, you're going to the right areas, the system works fine. The second you start deviating from that path and you start like making manual changes, that's when things get a little weird, not ideal stuff. So if you are in a place where you have to review the LRN with someone at your office or they're not able to attend today, definitely drive home how important these actions are. These actions drive the status changes. They drive when new records get created. And it helps you move along the referrals like timeline or workflow, right? So without those buttons, this isn't helpful. There's no value add. All right, so, okay. Last thing I want to make sure everyone knows about in terms of settings, sorry, I'm just checking on time. The button at the top that says update from litify.com. That button is specifically going to force this record to refresh with whatever information is from the LRN. Okay, so if you've made a lot of changes or your internet's horrible or whatever, you feel like you want to make sure it went through, give this button a click just to make sure that this specific record was updated. A lot of people that I talk to like have no idea like what this is. And I'm here to tell you. So like I was saying before, it's really important to make sure your list views are usable and user-friendly. And what I would encourage is, at the bare minimum, I would highly encourage everyone to create list views that, one, differentiate between referral type, right? So incoming list view, outgoing list view, and then separate after that, it should be, you should have list views that are incoming referrals at every single Litify status. And then do the same thing for your outgoing referrals for each Litify status. You'll see here, if I click on my list views, I have list views that specifically say like need action or they're action items. I've seen this be very popular, to use a list view as like, this is like my cue for my team of everything that they have to like do for the morning. But the only way this works is if, two things, is if the filters on this list view are referencing the appropriate fields, making sure that Litify status is being leveraged, and also that the referral kind is being leveraged as a filter as well. Similarly, if we talk about reporting, many of the reports that I've seen for referrals are probably included on like intake dashboards. I haven't really seen a lot of dashboards get made that are just specifically for referrals, though if anyone has any good ideas, please drop them in the chat. Usually, like, you would leverage a dashboard component for referrals the same way you would leverage the list view. So it's completely up to how your users like to work. What I would recommend is, just like how you would create these reports using the Litify statuses and the referral kind, like incoming versus outgoing, make the same exact reports as well. Obviously with reports, you have like more freedom to like group by row and column and add charts and all that fun stuff. A good recommendation, and from what I've seen previously, I don't know if I have any referrals. This one just might be the basic one. Litify has like a basic referral dashboard that you can clone and kind of make your own. But I love using these number components to tell my team, like, or my fake team, to tell my fake team how many referrals that they need to take action on, or how many referrals that we signed up in a month. I've seen this type of report get leveraged for like commission-based discussions at an office before. So you can definitely leverage that. And you can see like this actually is a really good template that you can use to filter on your own, depending on how you guys like to work. I don't really know if the dashboard would be necessary or if you can just get the same information just by looking at like a single report. Reports obviously offer up way more flexibility with like data and all that fun stuff. But you can see how simple these referrals reports can be as long as we're leveraging the right fields and have them visible as well. Does anyone have any questions about anything that I've gone over today? If anyone has any questions just like about sending and receiving referrals, I'm also happy to go over an example. Or if anyone just has any random questions, I'm happy to go over that. Which training video would you recommend for new employees to learn about the various buttons of the Litify Actions component? That is a wonderful question, actually. Reason being is because the Litify Learning Hub has recently gone through a massive renovation, like within the past couple of weeks. It actually looks completely different. And I can get a hyperlink and send it in like a response to this call. There should be referrals-based trainings, but because this is going to be recorded, I also can go through the Litify actions in terms of buttons, if that sounds good. So, I don't think I see. Okay. So the important thing to realize is the Litify actions, like I said, like hold up the entire process. So if a referral, sorry, hi Bonnie. If a referral is accepted by a firm, can you get statuses on that case? Do you mean like you want to know what happens next, or you're confused when someone like accepts a case? Typically speaking, like when you send, or what's going on with that case? So typically speaking, when you send out a referral, an outgoing referral, it will stay as under review until that handling firm takes action, whether that means they signed up the case or they've like declined it. So those are like the two status changes that you'll really see in that regard, like when you send something out. That's why I said it's like really important to make sure your Litify status is visible on all of your list views, because a pending outgoing referral, like one like this, means something completely different than a pending incoming referral. So this is related to like your question. So if a incoming referral, like someone sent me a referral, shows on their end as pending, I've declined it or let it expire. So as you can see here, I tried to send a referral to someone, they've either let it expire or turned it down. I now have to do something. And I know this because if I was smart, I had a list view that says outgoing referrals and pending. Those are my action items. And those actions pop up. These will change also. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on the situation, it will stay as a signed up until the case is over. So it won't really replicate their matter statuses until it gets to that point, right? So they have to like win the case, they have to mark it lost, all that good stuff, and they have to communicate back that to the LRN in order for you to see that changed. So in terms of sending referrals out to people, the outgoing referrals, you're really paying attention to when they start saying pending, because that's when you have to start jumping in. You're kind of a sitting duck. Sorry. you're kind of a sitting duck when the referral is outgoing and under review until that next firm signs up that case. Did that answer your question, Bonnie? I think the only Litify action you can do is just access any documents that you sent over. Any other questions? Those were good questions. I'm happy to go through like walking through sending a referral if that would be very helpful. If not, the last tip that I have, or last couple of tips that I have actually, one of the accounts that I've worked with, oh, you got it, Denise. I'll do that. One of the accounts that I've been working with, the marketing director, who isn't really in Litify a lot, did look at or did request like a lot of reports for not only intakes but also referrals. So like that information is helpful to marketing, depending on various factors, whether it's for commission or whether putting their marketing spend, all that fun stuff. I have helped a few members of like that department. So just if that keeps the wheels turning for you guys. But I will walk through a quick example of what it's like to send a referral. And then I think we'll be right at the 45-minute mark. And I think that was the time allotted for me. Hold on, we don't want to waste anyone's time. Yes, okay, cool. Okay, so sending a referral. Very, very, very cut and dry. You can send a referral and manage all of this in the web app, but like I said, in my opinion, I like staying in one place at a time. I don't like having a lot of tabs open really anytime, just in life. That's just like not how I like to operate. I'm a very stressful gal, so the way I can minimize stress is not bouncing around like a bull in a china shop. So to send a referral, you will always start from your referral's object, and on the top right hand corner, you will have a button, you should have a button that says new. I'm a system admin, so I always have these buttons. If a general user doesn't have access to something, that should ring a bell for permissions, right? Always remember what permissions that they have. I'll go ahead and click new. And now the next dialog is going to present what type of referral I want to create. I'm sending a referral, I'm creating an outgoing referral. That should just, I wish that happened automatically, but it doesn't. So I'll select new referral, and now I'll fill out a little form, basically. Very basic information, right? So I can fill out what type of case type my referral is going to be, what their first name of the client is. I'll put in their incident address. You will need to put in either the client phone number or the client email. There needs to be a way for the handling firm to be able to contact this client. That's why it's required. If I leave these two blank, it actually will not let me move forward. I only know this because I've done this presentation 1,000 times and I've sent a bunch of fake referrals to know what happens. I missed how you got to the firm settings section of my org now, and I can't seem to find it. When you got a second, you got it. Andrew, I feel like I've spoken to you a very long time ago. Welcome. With POTS, yes. Okay, so you'll fill in basic information about client contact information. What's their email, how that person can contact them. 1, 2, 3. That's obviously a fake phone number. And I'll put in, okay, I'll make sure all this is filled out. If I remember where New York is. There you go. Sorry, excruciating. And I'll press continue, right? So very basic information to start. It will then ask me if there are any additional files that I should share with the handling firm. Okay, this could be any kind of file. You also might not need to send any files. You may need to send that separately or through like a secure, like something else, right? But it will give you an option to send any kind of letter or any additional information that you would think would be helpful for the next person. I'm going to press continue. Okay, so you filled in the basic client information, and now you need to select what firm you want to send it to. If you are not sure, like, I don't know what firm, I don't just have a list, that's fine. You can select this button that will take me to the firm finder, and it will allow me to apply filters to find a firm that's appropriate. But a lot of the times you may have like repeat handling firms that like you always send stuff to. That's cool too. If that's the case and you know the firm already, you can actually type in their firm name and send it. Oh no. Did she? There we go. So I always send it to Shaylee's firm. I'll go ahead and press continue. It will give me just a little recap of everything that I'm sending their way, and I'll press send. Once this loads, you'll get a success message, and it will bring you back to Litify. And now that new referral, my list view is pinned. Sorry about that. My new referral will pop up in my outgoing referrals if my settings are correct. It should show as outgoing and under review. It just may take me a second to find that referral. Great. For the Litify settings in terms of syncing, you would go to the, this was a separate question in the chat, sorry about that. You'll go to the app launcher and then find the Litify setup app. And then the first two selections here, the login and sync referrals, that's where you're going to be adding in the system admin to connect the two accounts. And then also the advanced sync settings, which is where you can kind of manipulate how many times your org is running a sync between incoming and outgoing referrals, firms in general, and case types. The other settings you would have to manage would be a permission set, and that's in setup, versus the web application settings, which is in firm settings. Any other questions? Let me go back to referrals so we can get that referral. Lovely to see you again, even though I've just been talking and staring at myself for the past hour as well. Any other random questions about referrals? This is when I start getting desperate. I'm just like, please ask me questions. Can't you send an intake? Yes, great question. So I don't know if I'm gonna have good examples to show here, but you can also create a referral from an intake, if that makes sense. So let's just say like you get to like your intake process and you're just like, you know what? No, this is not a good fit for us. I need to refer you to someone else. You should have that option as well. You can refer out from there. That should look like a Litify action as well. It's a button. I just don't know if I have, this is my demo org, so I don't really have great examples at all times, but give me one moment. So you can see on my intakes, sorry, I'm highlighting Rick Ross here. This was an intake that I referred out. What's nice is when you do start referring out intakes, it'll do two things. It will change the status for you if you're leveraging those buttons appropriately, like I've been talking about. You'll see you'll have similar Litify actions, but it will also hyperlink the related referral down at the bottom, so you can easily jump to view that record. So as long as you are leveraging the Litify actions when appropriate, you will have the referral down at the bottom populate, or similarly, like the related intake on the referral. So another thing in terms of like the entire workflow, let's just say someone sends you a referral and you're like, you know what? Yes, I would love to create an intake from this. You can do that, take it through the intake process, take it through the matter process. And when you close out that matter, you'll have an option to communicate that back to the LRN, which in turn would communicate that status change back to the original firm, right? So that's like on their end, they would see that outgoing referral show as won or lost. So important to pay attention when you have Litify actions available. Just keep yourself in check with when you need to start using them. It's also helpful when you're like, you've lost your way and you're like, I don't know what to do now. I'll wait a few more minutes just in case anyone has any last minute ideas or questions. And if anyone was curious, I created a list view for outgoing referrals that says just sent. And these are the ones that I literally just sent to help me find them, which I should have remembered from before. But here is what that outgoing referral from my example looked like. It will show me the type is outgoing. It's under review until that handling firm does something, whether that be turn it down or sign it up for an intake. It'll also tell me who it went to. And now it's just a waiting game. It will also tell me when this entry was created, like in the LRN, which is helpful if you need to like filter by anything or if you're looking for something in particular. It will stay in that list view in my just sent, basically until this handling firm does stuff to the referral. But with that said, I see the chat slowing down. I didn't get any new questions yet. Thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate everyone's time. I hope you found this helpful. I give this walkthrough probably like once every couple of months. Shaylee recruits me somehow. But I'm happy to do it. I do a different type of walkthrough also. I do more of like an end user walkthrough sometimes. So keep an eye out. In the coming months, I'll probably be giving another one of those very soon. That will be more tailored to like, I'm an end user and I need to actually send and manage my referrals. Whereas this was more like settings and stuff you should like be like aware of just from like a system admin standpoint. The other one is like more in depth of like, this is like examples of how we send stuff and what we do when we get one. I also think I'll be walking through intakes later this month too. So if anyone liked how I trained, you're invited to that. But I will end this webinar. Thank you so much. I'll have Shaylee circulate the community and Litify Learning Hub articles that are very helpful for referrals at least. But thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Bye now.